When the Lazarus reigns twist the natural order of the universe, new heroes will be created and old heroes will be challenged. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn and find out what happens next, shall we? Alright, so once again, we're back with another anthology story using the Lazarus reigns as a framing device. First up, we got fan favorite Renee Montoya. She's still currently acting commissioner of the GCPD, a fact of which that is easily forgotten because goddamn, she doesn't really do anything. Why do writers have nothing for her? Two new detectives who we've never met before come to Montoya and say that they're working a serial killer case. Apparently a bunch of college students keep winding up dead, and these brand new Lazarus reigns are making investigating it quite difficult. Apparently the two detectives had a suspect in mind, but he's now missing himself, and they've come to tell the commissioner this because why? Not that Montoya herself is any help in this story. She says, meh, you know how serial killers go if you've ever listened to a podcast. Sometimes they just reach their kill limit. Sometimes they lay inactive for years. What are you gonna do, right? Except for, I don't know, look for them? That was a really silly exchange, but the next part is even stupider. In fact, it borders on actual unintentional comedy as the cops go and investigate another murder scene of another college student, only for the two detectives to decide, meh, you know what, this doesn't match the MO, probably wasn't our guy. Those other college students were murdered. This last college student looks like they were actually eaten alive. And then, apropos of nothing, Renee decides, you know what, I think this is a job for the Question. Okay, it's not really apropos of nothing. She says that this feels weird and paranormal, and that's, you know, usually something that the Question could handle. But seriously though, of all the times and all the crimes, why did Montoya choose now to become the Question again and put her job as commissioner in danger? Okay, they say Batman isn't in Gotham at the moment, but guess what? The third story in this collection will actually totally contradict that, making this scene, again, really silly in retrospect. Montoya hits the streets and decides to check out the apartment of their number one suspect and ends up discovering a key to a storage locker. Again, did the detectives not think to look in this guy's house? When the Question checks out the storage locker, she ends up discovering a bunch of the missing college students. Apparently they're not dead, but they're pretty terrified as the guy who kidnapped them used to just be a regular serial killer, but ever since getting pelted by the rain, he's become a giant hulking super strong cannibal. Again, seriously, how did no one see this guy at the scene? He's pretty goddamn conspicuous. Oh, but the worst part's yet to come. The Question doesn't even end up winning this fight on her own. She gets knocked down by the monster only to have one of the captured kids tase it from behind. And yeah, that's basically where the story ends. The serial killer is brought to justice. The detectives close their case, but neither of them realize that this was obviously the work of Montoya, who even comes into work the next day with a very obvious shiner. Jeez, this story was a stinker. Renee Montoya and the Question deserve so much more than they get from DC. Now from there we have a Raven-centric story. Apparently ever since the Lazarus reign started, she's been getting all sorts of crazy visions about demonic youth that need her help, and well, being a demonic youth herself, Raven and Beast Boy head out to try and help them. I would also complain that Beast Boy still has his eye patch from the end of Dark Crisis, but the reasoning behind that will probably make more sense later on. Raven tracks the demon kids back to a church where they're holed up. The local cops are outside and are ready to start shooting very soon, which is a good thing that Beast Boy is able to stay behind and keep the cops busy while Raven goes on in to work her magic, both literal and figurative. The demon kids are brothers, as we discover, and apparently they messed with the local priest who tried to give them an exorcism. Well, obviously that plan was gonna fail. Everyone knows you need a young priest and an old priest. This is first day stuff, people. At first, the demon brothers don't want to trust Raven, but once she reveals that her father is their father to the demon lord Trigon, they eventually start to warm up to her. So far, pretty paint by numbers, but not bad. It's what happens next that absolutely spins this issue out into total madness. Raven and the boys leave only to see that Beast Boy has murdered all the cops. That's because that was never actually Beast Boy, that was always just Trigon in disguise, who was using Raven and her visions to track down his sons. Only apparently he never actually needed to track down the sons because he already got the one that he wanted, one of the brothers who he's named Trilogy, get it? Trigon Trilogy, to agree to be his next heir. It's after that Raven just kind of falls into a dark void and the comic comes to an end. And no, it doesn't say you can continue to follow this story in the New Titans book, it's just over. Again, what a weird ass story. I feel like they wrote this one before they knew what was actually going on in the New Titans series. After that, we get treated to a Greg Pak story that introduces us to a brand new character called City Boy. Well, actually, we don't know he's called City Boy until the very end of the story, so before that he's just Boy. What can City Boy actually do? Well, after getting pelted by Lazarus Rain, he can do all sorts of things. He can psychically communicate with a city, he can phase through solid matter, he can create little animal companions out of junk, and he can learn the entire story of an item just by touching it. So yeah, City Boy has many powers. City Boy is also one of those street-smart Aladdin-type kids who has only come to Gotham City to try and get rich by finding a missing diamond tiara. Nightwing sees this kid jump into the sewers and assumes that he must be in danger, and as such swims after him, only to realize that he was never really in danger and he was just going after his prize. City Boy's not a total jerk though, as Dick soon learns. He actually gives the tiara back to its owner, who fell on hard times after losing it. And that's just kind of where the story ends, though we are promised we will see City Boy again, and Batman's in this story too for a second. Even though the last 2 times we've seen him, he's either been super injured or possessed by the devil Neza, so he got better at some point, I guess. As far as I'm concerned, City Boy could potentially be an interesting new original character, but this is not a great debut outing for him. Now, the final story in this anthology pack is actually a Firestorm story. If you're thinking to yourself, Jesus Christ, when was the last time anyone wrote about Firestorm? It's been a while. Because unless I'm mistaken, I'm pretty sure the argument that Ronnie and Dr. Stein are having right here about Stein actually manipulating the events that led to him and Ronnie fusing together and becoming Firestorm in the first place is actually a storyline that we last saw in the pages of Doomsday Clock. Yeah, it really has been that long. The Lazarus Rain, of course, has a negative effect on Firestorm, the Firestorm Matrix, causing Ronnie and Stein to separate. We then flash forward a few days where Dr. Ramirez from Star Labs has come to investigate the crater left behind by the separating Firestorms. Ronnie is there too, but Stein is nowhere to be found. Turns out that Firestorm Matrix explosion may actually have had some adverse effects on reality as we know it. Tears are beginning to form and crisis-level shadow demons are coming through. To try and fight them off, Ronnie is forced to fuse with Dr. Ramirez to become Firestorm once again, and it's right around here I begin to realize why people don't read Firestorm, because literally they've been telling the same story over and over again for decades now. The worst part is Ronnie's relationship with Ramirez isn't even any different from his relationship to Stein. Ramirez is the smart doctor who directs the more headstrong Ronnie around. When the fight is over, the two disconnect only to realize that Ramirez has lost multiple years worth of youth. Apparently this also happened to Stein, which is why he's not here right now and why he may very well be on death's door. And yeah, that's kind of where the story ends. Again, no promise that they're gonna actually follow up on this one. I'm sure all 5 Firestorm fans out there who are still holding out hope that he'll be a big deal one day must be crushed right now. And so there you have it, everyone. Lazarus Planet Legends Reborn issue number 1. And if Assault on Krypton was a mixed bag of stories and We Were Once Gods was actually a collection of pretty good stories tied together with a solid theme, then Legends Reborn I can easily say is a collection of bad stories. They all either feel lazy or half-formed, or exist solely just to pad out this anthology book. It gets weirder too when I stop and realize that I think Lazarus Planet as an event is only going to be an Omega and an Alpha. It's a shame too, because I like a lot of these characters and I wish they were better served, and this issue is clearly meant to exist as some sort of testing ground to try and stir up new interest. But if anything though, this issue creates anti-interest. I'm less interested in a lot of these characters than I was before, and the art isn't even a saving grace on this one either. I would give this one a 4 out of 5. You can very easily ignore all of this, and I'm certain that you really should. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.